Hi everybody, welcome to Tagged Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hi. It's a pain-strained hi.
Will we get into that later? Is there a reason it's a pain-strained high?
Oh, I just finished eating and I need to sleep. So.
That's fair enough. Have you got some room in you for some beers?
God knows, we'll try. It might just be the one today. We'll try.
Brilliant. And we're joined by Aadil. Hey, dude.
Hey, how are you guys?
Yeah, good. Have you got room for beers?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's start with you then, dude.
Oh, no.
First.
See, I've done a thing where I've picked a beer I've had before, but for a specific reason. Not just because it's a Wiper True and I love Wiper True.
Sure.
It's the Pale Ale Kaleidoscope, which all three of us have had, and I think I'm sure we've talked about it in the pod.
We would definitely have
at least once, if not twice. But the reason why I brought it up was because it's story time. I got a box of them from my friend's workplace, my housemate's workplace, I should say, because they have a small bar cafeteria, and the beer was going out of date. And even though things are opening up, a lot of the stock can't be served because of the date stamp. And so I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to remind everyone to check in with your local stores that serve craft beers and places and small bars, because this was a win-win for everyone. They couldn't sell it to customers, but they could sell it at cost, not out of their bar.
Sure.
So they covered their costs, and I got 12 Wiper True for about £2 each.
Nice.
And I will definitely, like, we all know that there's a buffer on these sell-by dates. Although we have had a couple less good moments, I guess, in the past couple months now I think about it. But it's really easy to forget that we don't just have buying from online services and bottle shops, but also there are places you could really benefit and help support offsetting their costs and getting a deal. So not only do I get to have a lovely Wiper True beer, but I get to say that spiel and remind people to do good by everyone who sells craft beer.
Good. And really, we should have all coordinated, all had a Wiper True this week, because they produced the festival beer for the Bristol Craft Beer Festival, which was on last weekend. Usually it's a big kind of collaborative effort by 4 or 5 Bristol breweries. I think it was just Wiper True this time, probably because of COVID. But yeah, the beer festival went on. We didn't go. We've deferred our tickets to next year. But I hope everyone had a very lovely and very safe time. I'm sure we shall see from stories coming out of the next few days when everyone's recovered from their weekend, perhaps. But nice. Good start, Aadil. Lucy, how about you?
I've been pretty hooked on Overtone beers recently. From Glasgow. One of my locals often gets shipments in for them, so I've been ordering them. But yeah, I've had some really solid beers from them recently. But this one I'm gonna drink. Start with this one. Is a pale Loral. It's 5.5%. Let's see if there's any flavor text. Ooh, hops are Columbus and Laurel. Yeast, Vermont. Malts are extra pale, wheat, and Cara. This pale uses Vermont yeast to create a wonderful peachiness paired with the Loral hops, lightly floral and herbal notes. Yeah, not much else. 440ml can.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, looking forward to this because every beer I've had from them so far has been very good.
Perfect. I know, I can't remember which one, but one of the supermarkets, whether it was Tesco or Morrison's, did have an Overtone beer in for a little while. I don't think I tried it. I can't remember. It wasn't in for very long. But I don't remember which one it is, so I won't go any further with that little story. I think I've got 2 beers. I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did last week, where I have another left-handed giant beer from our trip to the brewpub, and another supermarket, one of the new beers from Morrison's. They're both about the same percentage, one 7.2, one 7.4. The left-handed giant is 7.2, and it's a West Coast IPA. And the other one, which is a Northern Monk, is a double dry hopped IPA at 7.4, so a little more on the percentage, but I'm thinking maybe the West Coast might have a bit more of a kick to it, or a little bit more bitterness to it. So I'm going to start with the slightly larger ABV tonight. So this is Transient, a hazy double dry hopped IPA, 7.2% from Northern Monk, available now in Morrison's. This says, find your path as fog descends. Step into the haze in the mist of time. It's got strata and citra in it. There's a little bit of flavour text about Northern Monk, and it was brewed in the north with Ben Knowlson. Yeah, that's probably how you say that. He is Brethren number 79. There you go. I'm going to crack it open. And we'll come back to you, Aadil.
Good, because I forgot how we do things and didn't bother talking about the beer at all and its flavor text and whatnot. I was just like, yeah, we've had it. Right. This is a podcast and there is an audience. We don't just read cans to each other. It's not our Tuesday night can reading club. Although,
Wow.
an alternate name for the podcast, I guess.
It could. Yeah, it could be.
So, it's a 4.2% pale ale. The yeast is BRY 97. The hops are Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic. And this is our exploration into the flavors that a trio of hops can create. The combinations will change with the seasons, but the intention remains constant, to bring you a pale ale that is harmonious, bright, and refreshing. Another reason why I don't feel guilty about resampling the same labeled beer is, especially Wiper Trues in general, but especially with the Kaleidoscope, doesn't keep the recipe stable, just the intent, as they said in that flavor text. It's quite straw colored. I think it looks a little more orange on camera than it is in person. That's the word.
Yeah.
It smells really light. You can get those immediately, the Mosaic and the Citra off the nose. You get this like light, slightly floral citrus. And as always, I'm always impressed by Wiper Trues, to the point where I said always twice. It's light and delicate, or nuanced, I should say, as Wiper Trues are known to be. Although it's sort of not boisterous, it doesn't. There's enough alcohol, there's enough viscosity that although it's light, it doesn't feel thin, which is something that often happens when you have sort of smaller tastes. But it's got this lovely citrusy, bright, slightly zesty start, and then it moves into this like more rounded melon. Which one is it? The one that looks like a brain outside and is orange inside. Is that honeydew? Or is that cantaloupe? I get them mixed up all of the time.
Honeydew's the little yellow one, isn't it?
On the inside?
No, on the outside.
Anyway, the one that's like quite a
That
hard
one.
textured outside and then orange on the inside. It's slightly like that, not quite as sweet, and then it ends with a little bit of a nice clean bitterness. It's slightly piney. And it's kind of as simple as those three things, sort of easily moving between each other, but also just being very well represented and very like clean is a verb I like using, because like it's nuanced, but it's very the tastes are tight. You're easily understanding what you're tasting, and the flow between them is just sort of seamless. It's just like, yes, this is all happening. This is all well designed. It's an excellent beer, and it is so welcome on this very hot evening.
Yes.
This 27 IBU, also forgot to read that. This 440 ml can. Even though it's a beer I normally like nursing, just because I like the taste so much that I like getting a reasonable amount of the finish before I refill. I suspect it might not last that long, just because it's hot out and I want to drink, and it's lovely.
That's fair. Absolutely. Lucy, how about you? How's the beer?
It's very hazy, very cloudy. It's between straw and light orange in colour. Nice thin white head. Definitely getting all those hops, the Loral hops, and like a lot of citrus on the aroma.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting quite like a sweetness as well, like even a kind of artificial like sweetness on the aroma. Like it's got that like, oh, we have just added a ton of sweetener kind of smell to it. Not saying that's in the toast, haven't tasted it yet, but yeah, you're getting just a waft of that on the smell. It's nice. Tastes good. Am I going crazy, or did it say it had like peachiness taste to it?
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's definitely a lot of that. It's got like kind of a bubblegummy like kind of. Maybe that's what I was having on like the aroma. It's sort of got that in the taste as well, like kind of bubblegummy sweetness to it. Yeah, this is taking me a bit of time to discern what's going on in this one, but it's not very bitter. I don't know, this one's weird, because it's like there's a lot of flavour to it, but it feels kind of hollow. I don't know if that makes sense. It's got like that kind of artificial like taste to it, which is weird because I don't think there's like any sweetener in it, any you know, like they say peachiness, but I imagine that's just coming straight from the hops and everything, so it doesn't say anything on the can. Columbus, Loral hops. I don't know, it's strange. It's strange. It's got that kind of artificial sweetness that I don't like, but I don't think it has any of that in like the ingredients or any intention to do that.
Yeah, there's just something that's kind of combined to create that feeling, create that slight flavour, which maybe isn't kind of fully there, but it's reminiscent enough of something that that something doesn't gel very well for you, that you pick up on that a little bit more, perhaps.
I'll come back to me on this one because I'll taste it a bit more, let it warm up a bit, and see if I'm still having those feelings. Because just this sip that I took, once again, I don't know if I've become acclimated to it or whatever, but it tastes a bit different. So come back to me on this one.
Okay, cool. So for me, with the Transient, it's kind of just as hazy as yours, Lucy, but it hasn't quite got the depth of colour to it. It's a little more pale, I think, than yours is. The head dissipated really quickly off of it. It was a little frothy, but not too much. For a double dry hopped IPA, the nose was really light. I wasn't getting punched with very much at all. There's just a little light tropical fruit on there, but not much whatsoever. And I was saying it's kind of got a mix of strata and citra. I think as I've been drinking it, both of them are kind of trying to be balancing each other out. I think on the nose you get a little bit of melon as well, but it's sort of a bit of an indistinguishable melon. It's kind of just a little bit of a slightly sweet fruit.
My Audacity just crashed.
Way.
Give
for Audacity.
a minute. You might have to pull audio
back up
from your XSplit if it doesn't.
That's okay.
Restore.
If I do, let's all be quiet for 30 seconds so I have my fans to be able to cancel out in the background.
Fair. Well, why don't I just mute my mic now, and then reopen Audacity, and then you give me a thumbs up when you're happy with it.
Turn my fan on.
Let's go.
Okay.
Audacity happy?
I mean, yeah. Fuck, I haven't had Audacity crash in donkey's years. That was
It happened to me right at the end of an episode about 2 or 3 months ago. And I just had to, and again, it was one where I just had to scrub all of the audio from the recording. Yeah. So, yeah. Pure joy.
Sucks.
Yeah, that's just the way things are. What were we saying? So yes, the smell on this Transient wasn't very big, but in the flavour, it's a bit of an odd combination for the two hops. So the Strata and that Citra are kind of battling against each other a little bit. It feels very fresh. I don't know what it is about Strata, but there's something to it which makes everything feels a bit light and feels very fresh, even though it's got this dankness to it as well. And I think that's the issue between the two hops. There's this kind of light, tropical, juicy, floral note going on. So maybe a few more sweet fruits and then sort of that melon kind of coming together to create a little bit more of a floral sort of mix. But then there's this dankness as well to it. It's not big, it's kind of there in the background, but it just clashes slightly with that floral note. It's not unpleasant at all, but it just has this slight moment where you think, that's an odd little kind of move for the taste to make.
Yeah. It's like, don't shift that way. Shift the other way.
And it kind of it sort of leaves you with this kind of earthiness. There's not really any bitterness there at all, but there's just this kind of earthy aftertaste. And I think that is, again, that dankness and that floral kind of hitting each other and then just slowly kind of giving way to each other a little bit and finding some kind of middle ground. It's very dry though. So that earthiness combined with that dryness sort of towards the end does make me kind of think, this feels like I haven't brushed my teeth for about 4 days.
That sounds less good.
It's definitely got that sort of feel to it. And you're refreshed instantly when you have the beer. It's got that lightness to it. But it very quickly goes through those flavours to leave you with that aftertaste. So it's a very odd beer. Like you, Lucy, I have to see how it is kind of as I get towards the end of it and see whether my palate has adjusted slightly. I haven't drank anything else this evening, so there's nothing to change the flavour profile. But we shall see. Lucy, we're going to move into our topics.
Yes.
Last week, we didn't get to chat to you about whatever you wanted to bring to us last week. I imagine you've got absolutely tons to talk about.
Bits and bobs. I'll get to the heavy hitters. I've been playing a game called Lair of the Clockwork God, which is a game that's seemingly right up my alley because it's a point and click crossed with a platformer hybrid kind of game. This is from same people who made The Swindle, if anyone played that, which is kind of a 2D heist game. Size 5 Games is the name of the dev. It's really interesting in terms of it's just the concept. I started playing it and it was like it's very much I love point and clicks. I love platformers, but I don't necessarily want the two to collide. So in terms of a gameplay point of view, it feels very stop and start because you have these two
Right.
characters. One is very much, oh, I'm like the new indie platforming mascot. And the other one is like, oh, I'm an old dusty old man. I like things the way they were. I like point and click adventures and stuff like that. So it's got these two like diverging attitudes in the characters, and it is very much like a humorous take on like looking at video game design, looking at how video games have gone in the last few years, how we've kind of moved away from the point and click adventure and like everything's like a pixel art 2D platformer these days, which is
Roguelike
fine with me. Yes, roguelike, procedurally generated, yes, all those fun things. And it's in terms of the gameplay, as I say, it's very stop and start because you have this one character who's like, oh, I'm platforming, and for example, I'm in this dark room, but I can't platform over here because it's too dark. I can't see where I'm going to platform more. There's this light switch, but you're saying, no, I don't interact with things. I only jump because I'm a platformer. And then you have the point-and-click adventure guy who's like, oh, I need to click on this light switch, but there's no light bulb. I need to, fill out an inventory and combine things in order to do this. And so it's very, you're switching between these characters. I like that in theory more than I do in like gameplay, because as I said, it's very stop and start. You're not getting the fullest kind of thing from either genre, but where it does excel is in the humor of it, and as I say, the subversion of like expectations in terms and our biases towards like these two genres. It's got that British humor, that British sensibility to it, and I think that's where it excels, and that's where I'm really enjoying it. Just in terms of, oh, you're poking fun at the game industry, game design, these two genres, and that's why I really like it. So, not doing much for me on the gameplay spectrum, but in terms of, oh, this is a really cool thought experiment, and they've really, they've succeeded in making fun of these two genres while still celebrating them in a weird way. So I've been playing some of that, and it's longer than I thought, so I'm still plugging away at it.
Okay. I did hear a little bit. I've heard a couple of interviews sort of about the game and the process. Is it Dan Marshall, who's one of the guys who made it? Yeah. And having played the Swindle, I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to a couple of the podcasts that he's done. I did one with Kez McDonald where they sort of delved into the making of the game a little bit. And it always seemed kind of interesting, but every time I've looked at it, I've kind of thought, well, don't feel like I'm in the mood for that kind of thing at the moment, so I've sort of passed. From what you're saying, I might leave it a little bit longer, maybe, until I investigate it.
It's something that it's like, if you're not going to get the best out of either genre, but you're going to get something that's really entertaining and funny. It's like kind of how people labeled South Park: The Stick of Truth. Like, a lot of people were like, other than me, I thought it was a great RPG because I don't really play many RPGs, so I like the simplified version of it. But they were saying this is more of a comedy game, and it does really good at the comedy rather than the actual turn-based strategy. But for me, that's where I liked it. It's like, I was not a massive fan of RPGs, but in the inverse, it's like I am a massive fan of point-and-click adventure games and platformers. I'd prefer if it was, not prefer in this case, but it's like I would seek out one or the other, whereas this is just a clash between the two, and it's like they don't always fit in a gameplay way, but the comedy just brings it up to a level where it's like, this is an enjoyable game. So I think you have to go into it knowing that you're not going to get the best out of either genre, but you're going to get like a comedic adventure game. So,
nice. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
sounds solid.
Yeah, it's a solid game. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. What else? I went back to Silent Hill.
Oh yes.
On the Vita of all things, in the year 2020. Yeah, my Lord 2020, and I played more Vita than
any other year.
A dead machine and a very dead franchise.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, the Vita seems like the sweet spot of like. It's probably better than the PSP, but still has some nostalgia feelings of playing an old game on an older system. Is it a remaster or
no? It's just the PS1.
PS1, yeah.
Classic line, whatever they did, they just literally pooped out a few PS1 games on the Vita and like, here you go.
That was I think a lot of it was for the PlayStation 3 around the launch of the PS3. They didn't even remaster. They just brought up a load of PlayStation 1 games. You know, they did Final Fantasy 7 then as well, I think, and a few others.
Oh, but wasn't FF7 PSP era? Because Vita was like when FF10 got re-released.
PSP and PS Vita are both PS3 eras.
Yeah, that's true.
PSP
was like very beginning, and Vita was very end.
Very end.
Yeah,
it's like which came first, chicken or the egg? But,
I remember when we were having debates about whether the new PlayStation console should have a Vita packed into it, because everyone was like, but the Wii U! Nintendo have done it.
Who is this everybody who was about the Wii U?
I was not on the podcast at whatever time this was when everyone had a wrong opinion by this end.
I don't know what the heck he is talking about.
This podcast wasn't even going then. Who was I even talking to then?
Pre-podcast.
No,
people on the street. Do you think the Vita should be packed in with the PlayStation 4? Yes.
That would have been nice. But
the
Vita was probably dead by 2013. So when did it come out? 2011? Yeah, it was full on death's door by 2013. But, it still holds up. I don't think I played this like outside of a demo because I have vivid memories of like Silent Hill 2. But when I went back to this, I was like, I don't remember any of this. Maybe I didn't play it other than like a demo disc. Because nothing, I don't remember any of this game. But yeah, like the sound design, I don't know if they, enhanced the sound and stuff like that on whatever release this was. But the sound design's still great. Like the fog is still, as a technical limitation, it's still just. It is like great game design to go with like the limitations of the PS1. It's inspired, like still.
It's also still a crime that they tried to fix it
on the HD collection. Yeah, it's weird. That's weird. But yeah, still top tier game, and it's crazy how like every horror game now is trying to emulate those like crappy polygon graphics now, but I think we're definitely in that space where PS1 graphics is it's nostalgic now, which makes me feel sick, but in more ways than one. The fact that we're all getting old, and two, Silent Hill, even as a 1999 game, it didn't look good, but it had that kind of schlocky, crappy looking horror kind of vibe to it.
Yes.
And yeah, we've got everything.
Well, it's got that kind of camcorder aesthetic to it, hasn't it? Without it being kind of that in there.
The fixed camera works really well. Like this fixed camera angles just like in Resident Evil or Dino Crisis. I see why people are going back to that, because it works. It's really good. And people struggle with tank controls these days. I don't know why. I just feel comfortable with them. It just takes a second. It's like, we're doing this again.
It's just familiar, isn't it?
Muscle memory.
Yeah. So,
but people are spoiled now, so they won't develop it. They'll just be like, no.
Yeah, I think people try and play with tank controls with a joystick, and that's the completely wrong way to go. Just play with the D-pad. But I don't know. But yeah, it's fine to play. All but one of the puzzles I had to look up on a guide, so yeah, it was a good experience. Speaking of playing Silent Hill, I think it's detracted from the other game, or games I've been playing recently. There's this game called the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters, which is
the what now?
The Coma 2 Vicious Sisters. which is a sequel to a game that I didn't expect to get a sequel, called The Coma, which is a 2D South Korean made like horror game set in a school. That's why it reminded me so much of like Silent Hill, because Silent Hill is just playing through a school.
Huh.
Is this one? Is the Coma only come out a couple of years ago?
I think it's been kicking about for like a while now.
Okay.
I think it got ported to like I looked on the Switch, because I've tried to play it on like Xbox ages ago, and then I started it on Switch. I looked at my save; it was like 2017 on Switch. And it was like, oh yeah, I tried to play that game. This is the first game in the series, by the way. The sequel, I think, came out last year on Steam.
Right. This isn't the game that got that got banned because it
No.
fun out of
I think that was
what's his face in
Taiwanese.
China.
Yeah, is that called Devotion? I think that was a Taiwanese
Maybe.
game.
Okay.
This is different. It is like the 2D horror side-scrolling genre, which is quite niche, to be honest. I was trying to think of like facsimiles. I was thinking, maybe Benjamin Rivers games like Home and Worse Than Death, and that game Never Ending Nightmares and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of them. But it's the kind of horror that I can stomach usually, because like it's not as immersive as like a 3D game or a first-person game.
Right.
This has like, well, Korean horror is very similar to like Japanese horror, the imagery and stuff like that. So it has like these Junji Ito like kind of design, which is always good. But it's got really nice kind of. It's anime, but it's got a really nice fluid like animation to it.
So it's like manga graphic novel looking, because of that 2D
absolutely.
thing. It's less anime.
Yes.
Where the movement of anime tends to try and give you a sense of 3D in the way that manga doesn't, and it feels much more graphic novel-y to me, just looking at the videos on Steam and
you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you're here.
Is it full color, or is it sort of tonal?
It's full color, but it's got like this kind of like more grayish kind of tone to it. Like it's definitely going for that like kind of Junji Ito like kind of black and white kind of style to it. But the second game is very similar to the first, because I actually went back and finished the first on Switch, because I was like, I kind of like that game. It just got a bit frustrating, but I went back and played like the last third of it with a guide and stuff like that. So because I was just getting frustrated, because the whole thing about that game was that, oh, you have this creepy teacher lady coming to slash at you with a knife, and it's like it had good sound design, and it's a thing where it's like, just like Silent Hill, if you turn on your lamp, your flashlight, the enemies are going to see you quicker, so it's best to turn it off and sneak around. But once you had, I think the respawning of like that, the spawns of the slasher killer lady could sometimes be annoying. And once you had seen her, it's like, okay, the horror's gone out of that part of the game. But then
and then it becomes just running.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, I just want to do this one thing. Fortunately, the saves are like generous, but it's like, I just want to do this one thing. I just want to go there, but I know she's always going to spawn there. It seems. I think there's a hard balance to hit with like horror games where things should spawn at certain times, and you should be built up to that kind of moment where it's like,
direction's important.
Yeah, but when it's like, oh, I know it's always going to be here. I know it's always going to be unfairly running after me in this section.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a bummer, but I just don't think that. But on the inverse, you want it to be surprising. You want to be caught off guard. I just don't think the first game got that right. So far in the second game features like the same characters, and it picks up right where the first one ended, which I wasn't expecting. But at first I was like, oh, this seems a lot of the same, with some of the same problems as the first, but also the same, good stuff from the first as well, like the art style, more fluid animation.
Nice.
But this one actually expands to more than a school, because the first one set like almost entirely in a school. This one expands a bit further. I'm enjoying it so far. As I said, I think like that kind of horror we don't really see much in games. I don't play a lot of Japanese games, to be fair, so maybe it's just my closed off experience to those kinds of games, but these are the kind of like Japanese Korean horror that I can stomach without actually watching any of those films, because I will not sleep for weeks.
Yeah. I had a quick look, and the Coma cutting class is out on Android for $3.99.
Oh wow!
And when I searched the Coma 2, that doesn't come up. But the game I was thinking about was Detention. Yeah.
Oh, Detention. Yeah,
Yes.
that one's. Yeah, I've always been interested in that. That's a great comparison, because I've always been interested in that. I just haven't pulled the trigger on that one.
That's
So
currently
maybe
free on Google Play.
Really?
I've hit
Maybe I should
install.
I should just get a cheap out. Well, I have Android tablets.
I was
You know,
just
I-
like, surely you
listen-
have a tablet somewhere.
I have an Android tablet somewhere. It's just I'm more lazy to actually fire that up than actually just buy like an Amazon Fire tablet or something.
It's where it takes 4
Really?
days to actually start up.
Yeah, hey, maybe if Apple still dig their feet in with this whole iCloud thing, maybe I'll get one.
Yeah.
Business expense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it from me. Other than Tony Hawk, 5 thumbs up. Do I need to say more?
Well, it's. I think it's one of those games that it has. It kind of it didn't get a price drop, I don't think, but it retailed lower on its release than I think people were expecting it to. You know, saw it come kind of sub £35 for a physical version. I think it's maybe £39.99, £40 for a digital version. In most places, which was interesting to see that drop, you know, straight off the bat. I don't know what that came down to, but I thought, ooh, but perfect, I'll pick it up, but I haven't. I see a lot of people saying that they're enjoying it, but have put it down quite quickly. They've not, you know...
Who are these people? They're liars. The only reason I put it down was to finish Spiritfarer, because that was a literal drug. It was like heroin.
Yes.
And then A Monster's Expedition on Apple Arcade, which was like a double shot of heroin after Spiritfarer. I put like 24 hours into that puzzle game. It's a really good puzzle game. Play
Nice.
that. It's very good. It's like one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. It's like has those moments of like revelation that I got in like The Witness. It's just a soccer ball moving logs puzzle, sort of like Steven's sausage roll kind of Zelda pushing block. It's just charming as all hell. It's got funny writing and it's cute. Animation's great. Just play it. Everyone go buy it and play it. You have no excuse.
Is the same devs who did the Snowman? What's the Snowman one called?
A good snowman is hard to build, and Cosmic Express. Very good puzzle games, but this is just an accumulation of those, and it's just even better. But
Nice.
You did good.
then I went back to Tony Hawk. I've been playing Tony Hawk a lot.
Nice.
It's good. It's speaking of muscle memory before with like tank controls. This is it's as close as feel as I could imagine to the original games. So if you enjoyed those original games, even if you didn't, just go play. I'd love to be crap at Tony Hawk again, because then I know what you mean. But people have played it, finished it, maybe not gone back to it, but because when they put like the reverb and the manual in it, it's like 6 score, 250 grand, and then it's like that's like one combo in this game with the manual and the reverb, but it's just so much fun. It's like just playing that warehouse demo. And when the reviews came out, I was like, okay, I'm going to preload it now. I'm going to preload it. I just played the warehouse demo, and there was nothing. There was no skate to collect. There was no, there was
bonuses,
no
nothing. Just
to
play.
Yeah, yes, it's just play this, and it was like I did that for like 3 hours, and it was just that's the purity of those games. And 3 and 4.
Have you not?
No. Do it, please, and we can play online. And
Hold on. Did Lucy just say we can play online of her own volition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking.
I want to destroy you.
I mean, damn.
Because there are people playing this game who have obviously. I played Tony Hawk for a solid good 10 years. These people have been Tony Hawk for like 20 years.
Yeah, they never stopped, right?
They never stopped. And they're ridiculously good. I'm good at Tony Hawk, but these people have never left the house. And it angers me because I want to be the best player, but I struggle to get more than second place.
Do you think they're the people who didn't play Skate? They just kept playing all the Tony Hawks?
I've never played... I tried Skate. I didn't like Skate because my brain is hardwired for Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Skate 2 or 4, whatever one was on the...
It's not... There's no 4.
Yeah, so... Right.
Everyone wants 4.
Yes, I had 2 or 3, right. I think 2 on the 360, and I played... Mostly, though, I did the Aadil thing, where... Well, maybe it was 3, where there was like build it mode where you could just like you had access to make your own whatever, and I just abused the physics in all kinds of ways and never really learned how to skate so much, except for to the point where I could bounce around between things and get my guy to get ruined.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I played it kind of like, you remember the PSN game Pain?
No.
Oh, really? It was like a OG PSN game for the PS3 era, and it was you take the dude and you launch him at things and you get points, and it was like, look, Ragdoll physics. It's $5.
I know of this game, never played it yet, but yes.
Yeah. So the way I played Skate, whatever it was on the 360, was basically make elaborate ways of hurting my skater or just making physics not do what it's supposed to do. And never really doing the skating part.
You're a sadist.
Just go up to the top of the dam and jump off. And just watch them crack.
But yeah, Tony Hawk is very good. I hope they bring 3 and 4. Because 4 is my favourite. I think 3 is probably the best of the series, but 4 is my personal favourite. I think it's got the best soundtrack.
Do you think, I know they have brought in a like a creator park mode in this, and from a couple of things that I heard, a couple of interviews with the devs, they were sort of saying, we've tried to make this as robust as possible to allow people to go out and make their skate parks, to go and do, famous parks, their local parks, all of these different things. Do you think that is actually kind of like the future of this? Yes, they might bring out a remaster of 3 and 4 to give you those levels, to try and license that music, have another nostalgia hit for another 35 quid, but that this is the way that this kind of game will live on, that they will just support, at least into the next generation, people being able to make new parks and to skate, and basically try and sell it and advertise it on, you can skate anywhere in the world.
I think it's half and half of that. I think because there's Thug Pro, which was the online kind of like mod for that had all the previous Tony Hawk levels in it, and it allowed people to play online for ad infinitum or ad whatever that is. But I think, but a lot of creator made things are not well curated. They're not well, advertised, and a lot of them are just crappily made anyway. Yeah. Not all the good levels, surface to the top. So I think what it would take is Activision, is it Beanox who made this? Almost said Neversoft, but they're defunct now. But
Yeah.
it's Vicarious Visions to make skate parks and drop them in a kind of like Call of Duty, like all maps are free. Here's our next one.
Rather than just
Go
leaving it up
play.
to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think a lot of people, the whole purpose of these games is that this will just remain amongst the quote unquote hardcore players, where it's like they're just happy to play Tony Hawk again in these really well crafted levels from the originals. But to get in a more casual audience, I think you have to expand those levels, start making new playlists in terms of like, I think there's like a pro ranked multiplayer and then just multiplayer for everybody. But a lot of the people, like, it's even unfair for like the likes of me who have played it a long time to be still in the normal multiplayer, because there's a massive gulf between me, who's coming in second every time, and whoever's coming in first with like millions of points. But there's also a fair gulf between me and the person who's coming first.
I was about to ask, like, is it really like basically tiered between, like, I was addicted, I never stopped being addicted. Hey, a Tony Hawk game. I maybe played a bit, or I've heard about these.
Yes, it is that. So I think you need a better way of like coaxing those players who are good into other lobbies, other ranked kind of playlists and stuff like that. And
if only so they can get. Yeah, I mean, it also would be good for them to not just be like, not be guaranteed a challenge, but like even either like they're probably lucky to even have someone like you on their tail, and if it's a huge gulp, it's not really there, right? I mean, a lot of the lobbies are probably just people who've never played it or people who were casual about it, because that's just the majority of gamers today who have access to the game, right?
Yeah, and as I say, those people who like there's people putting up like massive scores. I don't even think they're doing it to like make the little guy feel bad or anything.
No, they're just playing the game, right?
Oh yeah, it's like, because that's the whole thing. It's just replaying those levels over and over again, and it brings in that extra element where there's competition to it. So even me, who's like exhausted a lot of the levels in 1 and 2, I'm going online just to be like, oh, there's other people here. There's a playlist. It's deciding which kind of match we're going to go into. Is it graffiti? Is it combo mambo and stuff like that? It's like, oh, it's curated for you. But yeah, I think the key is to trying to funnel those players into other playlists and stuff like that, so other more casual people don't get disheartened and then they want to keep playing, because that's the folly of so many multiplayer games, where it's like people who've put more time into it, and in this case 20 years it's like the other people are just going to get drowned out. So yeah, putting more content. I think this is a miracle where we have an Activision game and it's not got a season pass. I don't even know if there's any microtransactions in it.
It hasn't got a season pass until they've made all of the Tony Hawk 3 maps and then charge you an extra like 20 quid or something like
those.
No, so the thing is,
they're so good. So yeah, I'd pay for that crap.
I don't think they would do 3 or 4 on Seasons Pass. I think they'll do a full game release on those, even though it's probably the same engine and that should be DLC. But the real thing test will be, they did 1 and 2. Seems like it's selling well. Will they do 3 plus 4, or will they do 3?
I think
and then 4.
I think we could add 3 to this one because it's the same structure, whereas 4 is like, oh, there's no clock, so it's very different. And Thug, Wasteland are just completely different entities entirely. So
I mean, I'm just speaking.
I'm adding 3 onto this one in a year, and then maybe doing. I don't know how they'd split it. Activision, the world's your oyster.
I mean, it is, but also, do you know if you're getting like a free upgrade to the next gen with any of this? Is it just going to be kind of a backwards compact game, I suppose?
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a next-gen version, right? I doubt they're going to release new updated 4K textures or whatever above what they have. It's just going to be because we assume the PS5 will play PS4 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Xbox can play Xbox. So I think this is just a game. I don't think it's a cross-generational.
I'm pretty sure I saw something about this for
Okay.
next gen.
It kind of
it might be another game.
It does.
Hitman.
It does bring us here. Does bring us into a bigger conversation, which I think we can keep for another time, of how perhaps kind of with this now and backwards compatibility and stuff. The idea that consoles, yes, everyone's talking about generations for new games, but kind of going forward, being able to play kind of all the old games, does it move into the consoles? Move into more of like that PC space, where you can just play all of the old PlayStation 4 games. You can play. Here is that library of 800 games to be able to suddenly play. And Game Pass kind of does this a little bit, but that's to be determined in future games with the X and the S and that sort of stuff. And it's a much wider conversation for us to have, which maybe would take like the first hour of next week, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think we should probably open some other beers once Lucy's found this little tidbit.
I'm not sure. I'm
gonna rinse
it was that game I saw it for, but I mean, it's obviously going to be down to Activision, but I'd bet on it being part of smart delivery. So
yep, just depends how they're going to support it, I suppose.
To be honest, like this game runs at 4K, 60 frames, and the frame rate is very steady. I haven't noticed any dips, and the UI's in 4K as well. It's a very good looking game. I don't think it would need a patch on a newer system. Okay, so.
Fair.
Yeah.
Nice. Shall we open some more beers then? Lucy, I'll come to you first. If you're ready.
Shall I just pull out one I prepared earlier?
You have what you like, mate.
You do you, yeah.
Didn't you have, what did you have a few weeks ago, Aadil?
He's never going to remember.
In which sense?
Oh, the Rock 48.
Oh, the Rock 48, yeah, sorry. I now see that you're holding the Westmalle, so Belgian, proper Belgian ale that you could get. I had the Rock 48, one of my favorite beers ever. Still one of my favorite beers ever. Surprising nobody.
Yeah, I don't think I have the space to open another beer.
That's fair.
I mean, there's still half a can left, and there's so here's one I did earlier, and it's still like 2/3 of the bottle. This is the Westmalle Trappist. Probably we've definitely had Westmalle on this podcast before, but we're bringing it back because it's one of the best beers ever. This is the triple. I think I prefer the double, to be honest. This is the 9.5, which is a lot, but I was just saying the other day, it's like, imagine going to a pub and this being your version of Carling, and what a wonderful life that would be. It's got flavour text, which I've never read before, because as soon as I see this beer, I just
drink the shit out of it.
Yes, and
is it not in Flemish or French or?
No, it's in English. It's in English. This clear golden yellow triple is brewed within the walls of a Trappist abbey on a small scale under the supervision of monks. The income is used for their daily life and to maintain the abbey. I want to be a monk. I want to do it.
No video games though.
Really? I could sneak in a PlayStation.
Just beer and worship.
I mean, it's not a bad way to go. If you're worshipping the beer as well, even better. A major share of the profits is donated to charities. This living beer ferments again in the bottle. We don't need to read the storing information. Serve at 8 to 14 degrees Celsius. It's got all the good stuff in it, the barley, the malts, the hops, and it's just a fantastic beer. Yeah. I think in terms of all the Trappist beers, I think the double is my favourite.
Mm.
I mean, I think that echoes that the same thing I have with the Roquefort. That I think the 8's better than the 10.
Yes.
It's that balance of getting all that malty, tasty goodness while not getting it too boozy.
Mm-hmm.
The boozy sweetness can overpower at the triple level.
Yeah. Well, even spoilers. It just goes down so easy. Like you cannot tell that 9.5%. After a while, yes, you're getting that alcohol burn and stuff like that, but otherwise, it's just like I had the delirium tremens as well. That's just like that tastes like water. It's not even right.
It's so easy.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's my second.
Aadil.
Which is probably worse than opening the can that was like 6.5.
You'll be fine. Aadil, what are you drinking?
Going on the exact other direction, I have got from Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh.
Tailgate Brewery, the peanut butter milk stout.
Oh.
So it's a milk stout with peanut butter flavor, not flavor. Peanut butter milk stout. The name says it, but the taste is everything. Rich, creamy, velvety, delicious. It is 5.8%. The hop, it just has Magnum hops, which I'm not super familiar with. And then the malts are pale, C65, chocolate, roasted barley, and of course, adding to all those is lashings of peanut butter. So we'll see.
Love a good lashing.
So one of my housemates had never seen Fawlty Towers before, and we watched the Waldorf Salad. And when, if you haven't seen it, watch that. It's one of the best comedies ever. The Fawlty Towers, and I really love the Waldorf Salad. And when he comes in, spoiler alert, at the end and asks Sybil to rent him a room, and then he's like, and I'd like breakfast in bed, and he goes, like heaps of Waldorf salad and lashings of screwdrivers because he hadn't known what a screwdriver was. That's good. But nah, so because of that, I'm just like, lashings is such a good word.
It
is. Good. Unfortunately, there's no lashings on my beer. It's Left-Handed Giant, so they don't give you a huge. That's true. Yes. Left-Handed Giant don't give you a huge amount of info. Aadil, I think you drank this beer whilst we were in the brew pub. This is Fear of Fog.
I did.
Yes, 7.2% West Coast IPA with Cryo Citra, Cryo Mosaic, Simcoe, Centennial, and Idaho 7. That is everything. Got a lovely, as a lot of Left-Handed Giant cans do. This little can art.
Is that a teddy bear on a roof?
No, it's just a man. I think he's on a plateau.
In the moonlight.
Staring out to the sky. Yeah, so I'll crack this. Lucy, we'll come back to you.
It's good. I haven't drank any of it, but it's good. Yeah, you're getting that boozy smell. Just boozy, yeasty, malty smell of it. Just... It's less clear than I remember. When I remember, I was saying like last week, because I had one like last week. But yeah, it's just great. Right aroma, you just know you're in for a good time as soon as you smell it. Yeah. As I say, like the 9.5 definitely get a lot heavier than the double, but even so, it's like it's not that. I'm sure this is lighter than your peanut butter stout, and this is like 9.5. So it's just good. How many superlatives can I give it? It's just like the best beer ever. Like and they're so cheap. Even over here,
they are very yes,
inexpensive.
Yes, inexpensive. Yes, I got this for like £3, 330 bottle. It's just the best bang for your buck. yeah, as I say, you're getting a little taste of Belgium, all the nice, good old Belgian yeast. Getting that very like kind of dankness, that kind of nice bit of carbonation, but not too much to make it fizzy. It's very smooth at the same time. It's as I say, it feels heavy and boozy, but not overbearingly so. So yeah, this is a nice one to just sip on and just have a good time. But you're not, oh my god, I need like water with this because it's so heavy and strong. It's just that perfect balance of yes, you're getting the booziness and the strength, but it's not too much. So yeah,
Excellent.
good ass beer.
Good. Aadil, we'll come to you.
Sure.
For the peanut butter
so
milk
in the time,
stout.
it is like dark, dark as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no head, even on the pour. There was almost nothing. You can see it's 5 point something. Did I say that? 5.8%. So like a solid. So that's a happy zone we have for stouts where it's not too light for the sake of lightness that you end up being thin. So I'm expecting some viscosity from it. I guess that is peanut butter. So it's got a bit of a roasted malt on the nose, and so it was like, huh. And then because through that you're getting some of the cocoa and some chocolatey notes, and so why I said, huh, I guess that's peanut butter is I was like, what does this remind me of? Oh, this is like a very rich Reese's peanut butter cup. And I'm like, right, it's just because that rich, malty, slightly roasted cocoa notes are interacting with the peanut butter. And I'm like, yeah, I just like these things. Huh.
Try it again. Just to be sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just not a mixture of flavors I'm used to. First sip is definitely one of those acclimatize your mouth things. So it is a bit. It does have that viscosity I predicted. The finish is kind of dry and a little just sort of dry, bitter, touch of sweetness. But before that, it kind of the rest of the taste is really strong, and because that's so weak, it almost feels like it's not very wet. But that's actually just a transition from the lingering finish being quite thin versus the rest of the taste. But actually, if I think about the mouthfeel, it's quite strong. But unfortunately, it does leave you a little dry. So in the same way as I was saying with the nose, that it's mostly sort of a malty front end with a bit of cocoa, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's peanut butter. It actually like plays out like that in the taste, where it's like, there's something sweet going on, and but also, good old roasty stout, and then you're like, what is that? Oh, it's kind of like roast nuts. And you're like, nope, that's peanut butter. And I think, unfortunately, that transition between sort of a nice stout, literally a stouty stout taste, like a nice broad forward stouty taste, and then that like really thin finish in the middle, you just get mostly the peanut butter notes, which like work really well with the roasted, like with the stouty taste, and linger only with a bit of sweetness and a touch of nuttiness on the thin finish, and those work really well. But in the middle, it's just like, kind of not great, sort of cheap peanut buttery taste, and it doesn't last long, but it's this weird transition that I'll get used to it. I've only had 3 or 4 sips, but it's like, oh, this is an interesting thing, because like when it's boisterous stout, I those peanut butter notes are there, but they're below the regular sort of strong malty stout, and so it's like, okay, this is interesting. And like I said, there's these like very chocolatey cocoa notes that are like really working well with it to make it, Reese's Pieces used to be my favorite Smartie knockoff. Oh, you don't call them Smarties here, do you? I don't remember. Anyway,
There are Smarties.
my favorite candy coated chocolate snack is a Reese's Pieces. But also growing up, we used to, because there's 3 of us, my mom used to buy us the peanut butter cups because it came in 3, so we'd each get one. And now they come in 2s because why not charge more for less?
M&M's P.
No, M&M's are pure chocolate, and then there's peanut M&Ms, and there are peanut butter M&Ms, but those are harder to track down.
I don't think I've had an M&M or a Smartie for probably like 20 years.
So, did you have the M&M commercials?
Yeah.
Yes.
With the yeah. So the red one, who's like the smaller one, he's a regular M&M, and then the big yellow one is the peanut.
They're different
M&M.
sizes. They seem equal in the adverts here.
No, they're definitely different sizes, mate. The yellow one's taller.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Maybe
true in the actual in the
I
snack.
haven't watched TV for probably 20 years or so.
There's a blue one as well,
No,
which is like a
you're just talking
like a
nonsense,
crispy
man.
one.
You're lying.
Really? Because I only know
yeah.
about the sexy green M&M.
There's no green. Are you like pulling my leg?
No. There was a green M&M, and like in the early 2000s, it was she was female, and
no,
like
wasn't.
the like,
This is a fever dream. Goodbye. There's only 2 M&M. I don't want to know.
But I don't actually know what
I want to know.
Oh yeah, so I think the green M&M was dark chocolate.
Okay.
But I can't remember. But don't worry, because chocolate.fandom.com has a article on their wiki called M&M characters.
Oh.
Red is red rounded, all chocolate. Blue, if you're lucky enough, he might. Oh yeah, he does look like he's the same size as yellow, and he likes jazz.
Of course he does.
I don't have.
There's an orange one and a blue one.
I don't have it in me to continue with
I
this.
bet.
Oh,
I bet their
wow.
favorite.
So
all
this
of
is
their
creepy.
favorite bands is the California Raisins. It's just one mascot to another. Like,
yeah. But like, Green joined the M&M's pack in 1997 as the first and only female spokes candy. Until the addition of Miss Brown in 2012, she instantly captivated fans of the iconic candy with her luscious lips, slightly suggestive smile, and white hot go-go boots.
oh dear.
Famous for her sometimes intimidating "I melt for no one" bravado. Who the fuck wrote that wiki article?
And it's not who wrote the wiki article, it's who made this character. You can see it in a boardroom in like 1998. They were like, we need to make M&M's hot again. How do we do this?
We need a
Just bring in
sexy
the,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they made the sexy one, and then the
Jessica
brown
Rabbit
one,
with M&Ms.
the second female was like the pent-up librarian. Brown's sophisticated, intellectual, and wears glasses.
That can be sexy.
My shell is brown. It just looks like my milk chocolate is showing. I'm done. I'm closing the tab. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm drinking.
Google's
a beer
now
as well.
judging me.
I'm drinking.
Is
a
it
beer as
M&S? Not M&S. Is it M&M
S&M.
No,
fanfiction?
you don't. No, Lucy, don't ask the question. Don't ask a question you don't want the answer for,
I
Lucy.
do want it. Write in with your best M&M fanfiction. You know there's a Tumblr blog.
Yeah.
dedicated
Oh no,
to
man! I'm
M&M.
just gonna go straight to M&M tag on DeviantArt. Oh, cool! Someone drew the brown one and the green one tied up and looking at each other. Great! Glad I saw that.
Oh.
Also, someone with gray hands is well. So the green M&M has her feet, which aren't wearing the aforementioned go-go boots, on the table, so you can see the feet. And some pair of gray hands have a white feather, and they are tickling. And she is saying, "Aha, ha ha, still no, hee hee, ho ho, etc."
What do their feet look like?
Like human feet. It's really weird.
It's like when people draw Kirby with like real things. It's just wrong.
Oh my god, there's also a really buff, like veiny while flexing green M&M saying, "Hey handsome," with just these big, huge muscles. I'm gonna stop now. I'm stopping.
At least it's
No,
not
Lucy,
quite.
don't ever
send
say
them
I
quite
don't
Sonic.
do what you ask.
Thank you.
At least it's
You
not
can
quite
send me
Sonic
that link.
levels of stuff, eh?
I mean, I didn't go further. Also, you have to go to old Tumblr, which doesn't exist anymore,
Okay.
right? Because
Oh, yeah,
DeviantArt,
yeah.
I don't think can do nudie stuff. But Tumblr now doesn't do any naughty stuff.
Well, what's the point of Tumblr
Okay.
then?
It's not. That's why no one uses
Shouldn't
Tumblr
do it.
anymore. It's because when AOL bought them, and was it AOL? Anyway, they sold them to a new company, and the new company's like, "But we also aren't going to allow porn." And it's like, so
Yeah.
the valuation crumbled, like crumbled from how much they paid, and you're like, "We'll buy it, but also we will keep up the thing that means no one will use it."
Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
That was an outlet for a lot of people. That's a shame. So,
M&M's at the M&S.
it was just-
S&M's at the M&M's. S&M, M&M's at the M&S. There we go. Sorry, just thinking of all the...
Tumblr was just. We're not going to get into it, but it's just.
Yep,
like,
nope.
Mate, I'll tell you
Ben,
what.
it was just there.
Once I've talked about my beer, Paradise Killer is kind of like the Tumblr of video games. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Yes, my beer, Fear of Fog, West Coast IPA. Aadil, you've had this.
Yes.
It hits you straight away. With I'm gonna go on this really quickly so we can talk about more fucking M&M S&M and stuff. Look, it's so clear. It's so clear. It's dark in colour. It's got a biscuity maltiness to it, but it kind of combines with maybe a little bit more of a dank kind of nature in its hop presentation. A little sweetness to it. It's an interesting kind of set of flavours. It goes from that maltiness, has a little bit of a danky hoppiness, and then has this very big, piney, almost kind of nutty finish to it and bitterness to it. And I think maybe that's the sort of the more the biscuity malts and that dankness combining to give you that big piney finish. It's very nice. It's very easy. I love a bitter dank beer. This isn't like, it's not in your face kind of dankness. It's very similar to the Transient actually, in that slightly weedy, danker element to it, but the accompanying flavours are completely different and flows very, very well. You know, the flavours in this just work kind of along that taste curve, and it's not very dry. It's got a little dryness to it, but it's not really dry. So kind of everything is allowed to work its way through. It all lasts quite well. I can still pick out that pininess kind of, you know, from the back of my mouth now without having to reach for the glass. I mean, yeah. So
Very nice.
it is always
Creeping
nice.
dank.
Yeah, it's a very good, refreshing beer.
Yes.
I think I had it at the right moment at the brewery, because we then went on to much heavier, more alcoholic, but also more taste-forward beers. And I think it's got the right level of lightness to start a session, but also just, I mean, when it's hot out, it's like that nice, slightly crisp, refreshing beer, despite being sort of more malty. I think it's a good compromise on those things.
Absolutely, yeah. And it just, as I say, just flows very well. It takes you very nicely through that flavour. I'll come back to it later, probably, to talk more about it. But let's move on to more M&M S&M and ASMR. And what was it? M&M's S&M, M&M, and
M&M S&M at the M&S.
So, Paradise
Tune in
Killer.
for my ASMR about M&M S&M at the M&S.
I bet that exists. That must exist already. I mean...
Oh yeah, it's just... Crunch, crunch.
No.
Crinkle.
Not in the
You're
mood,
welcome,
Lucy.
podcast.
Not in the mood right now.
I don't like ASMR. It
I don't.
freaks me out.
I don't mind when it's like things like vinyl cracking or like raindrops or maybe crinkling, but it's the mouth shit,
Yeah,
right?
it's the
Where
people
just
talking. Like
Lucy, I'm going.
no. Taking out my headphones. It's like when I accidentally like put my podcast down to like 0.5 speed. It creeped me out.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is wrong.
See, I don't mind the whispering.
2013 Tomb Raider was just so good.
It's just wrong.
See, I'm okay with the whispering. It's the like when they do like mouth. Like, I think it's just that I don't really like mouth smacking noises, and a lot of it is like the easiest thing to do to make like these types of noises is like stuff. And so when you're right by the mic and you're like
you've got a cob of corn and you're just like.
It's just, it's just wrong on so many levels.
We've taken such a weird tangent.
yep.
Shame if that's the thing, go for it, but just.
Oh yeah,
M&M
absolutely.
ASMR is definitely gonna have to be the title, I think.
If you enjoy it, go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're not hurting anybody, go for it,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good.
Please change the subject.
So,
Paradise
Killer, yes.
Yeah.
Take me down to the Paradise Killer where the download's quick and the Steam. Is it on Epic or Steam?
It's on Steam. I did get a code. I got a code from the what was it? Fellow Traveler is the publisher.
I bought it after your recommendation last week. It was still on sale. I bought it on Switch 'cause
I forgot to buy it.
Switch game.
So I mentioned it last week. Yes, it's kind of this. If you didn't catch last week, it is an investigative, narrative, kind of dialogue-based game. You are Lady Love Dice, who is a judge who's brought out of exile in this absolutely batshit crazy world. It's kind of everything that you're exploring and picking up, and all of the collectibles, and this give you some nice exposition about kind of the backstory, about kind of like the islands and the characters that inhabit them, and the societal structure and how that works with with kind of like the real world. It's vibrant. It looks beautiful. It's got this nice 90s kind of aesthetic to it, and the music matches that perfectly. The music is phenomenal in this. One thing I would mention, I don't know if you have played it, Lucy.
No, I haven't started it yet.
But you'll probably want to tinker with the settings, because when you start running and you get the double jump, I would imagine this will hit your motion sickness like nothing, because stuff is flying around as you're trying to move. And that's maybe one of the issues with the game, is that you're kind of on foot around this very wide vertical island that you are having to, if you want to get up here, you have got to go all the way around and up and to get there before you unlock maybe the fast travel point to get to that element. So there's a lot of traversal around this, but that is kind of not what the game is about, really. It's not about traversing around the island. Yes, there's things you can pick up and little bits of collectibles for exposition, and some extra little side quests that you can kind of investigate. But this is very much, I think Aadil mentioned it last week, it's kind of like that Ace Attorney kind of thing, where you're out investigating a crime that has been committed. And I've got to a point in the game now where I have investigated, and I'm at that point where I can go back to the trial, basically, and I can bring all of my evidence and basically put people on trial and accuse them of the various different crimes that have popped up. You're kind of given one one thing to solve, but a lot more comes out of this. And it's very expansive. It's very branching in kind of what you're looking to do. So you might start talking to a character. They'll uncover some information. You may find an item, and that will lead you to somebody else. You can then kind of question them about it. It's got some fantastic characters that you come into contact with, and all of them are just so camp. So so well drawn.
Yes, they look very flamboyant.
They are very flamboyant, absolutely.
And attitudes,
and again, I'll hit on a little criticism at that point. When you jump into the dialogue with a lot of the characters, you move to a new screen. You know, the exploration is first person. When you come in to encounter a character and talking to them, it will present just a 2D image of them, and then you'll get all of the text at the bottom of the screen. Every now and then, while you're talking to these characters, a voice clip will kick in, and I can see why they've done it, because they're trying to signify maybe the mood of the character. So one of them might say like, "How dare you?" or something like that, which it might not say in the text, but it's like an admonition. Admonition, that's the right word.
I'm a languages graduate, and I don't know.
I don't know. Basically, they're saying like, "How dare you?" But not
admonition.
Admonition. Yeah,
not nation, but nation. That's what was throwing us off. Yeah.
So,
abomination.
There's abomination. The enemy of the Hulk shows up a bunch.
He does. He's right, and he's in the background on the horizon all the time. It can be a little bit off-putting just having this random voice clip kind of kick in when you're trying to read text, and it doesn't match up with the text. You know, so it puts you off very slightly. You can turn it off. There are seagulls in this game. You can turn that off.
Seagulls? Did you know that apparently I haven't corroborated this, but apparently there is no such thing as a seagull. There's a
Eric Cantona would say otherwise.
There's a set of different birds that are gulls that live by the sea, and we colloquially call them seagulls, but there's no species seagull. Which is why seagulls can be in very different sizes and stuff, because they're actually different types of gulls.
Just by the sea.
Yeah, we're just like seagulls.
Gulls,
just like forest bears.
Seagulls.
You know, the black forest bear and the brown forest bear and the grizzly forest bear. They're all just forest bears.
Oh man!
Basically, all bears that aren't that big white one.
Yeah. That's kind
of the Coca-Cola bear.
Yeah, isn't that what a polar bear is? Someone just on one of the poles like polar bear. Like, yeah. Someone out of their element is like, what's that? Polar bear. It's like, no, it's just a bear.
Where was I?
Seagulls. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm the worst.
Admonitions.
Oh yes, yes.
Admonishments.
Admonishments. Yes. A slightly confusing kind of a voice clip to the text that's being read. It gets a little bit frustrating, but you can turn it off. I haven't, because there are voice actors. People have been paid for this. I'm gonna listen to it.
You want to experience the game as the developer intended.
Yeah. And kind of another, I suppose this is kind of more of an issue around sort of depth in what you're asking, what you're talking about with these characters, is that you can kind of go down one path of talking to them about something, and they might get like really angry with you about what they've been asking, what kind of what kind of line of questioning you're coming in, whether you've thrown an accusation at them or something. But then they'll just answer your next question kind of normally. There doesn't seem to be any consequence to you making those kind of like accusations on these characters or anything like that. It is just, question number 1, let's discuss that. Question number 2, let's then discuss that. Question number 3, let's discuss that. And I think it would have been a little bit more interesting had there have been a bit more to kind of the consequence to, you know, what you're actually saying to these characters and stuff. It is very much and feels like a point and click in the way that you go and talk to someone, they say something, you find an item which either corroborates their story or goes against it or points the light at someone else, and then you go and talk to that person, and you're bouncing around kind of people and points quite a lot in this, which doesn't tie in very well with that issue, with that sense of how kind of stilted the exploration feels, how slow that can feel as well, but it is made up by very good writing. Without that sense of depth of that changing maybe relationship between the characters, kind of the stories and what you're actually doing do have a depth to them. So nothing is clear cut, nothing is straightforward. It is very much, oh, what does this lead to? Or there's no answer there. What does that lead to? Okay, well that's now taking me over here. And it unravels in a way where I think you could not explore everything and kind of hazard a guess maybe at who committed a crime, and then take that to the trial and kind of accuse them of that. As I say, I haven't got to that last part of the game yet, so I don't know what that trial element involves, whether I can just throw an accusation at someone and how that will actually unfold with me saying this is the evidence that I can kind of present, and then having their, you know, testimony and how that will work. So I'll have something to report back on kind of next week with that.
Cool.
But so far within the investigation stuff, it's very interesting, it's very well written. Just like it presented a little bit differently, like it didn't need to be this kind of open world exploration game. It's
as you say, like the vibe and the look of it is great, but yeah, if that feels a bit tacked on, it's good to know that the writing kind of overcomes that. Just like, you know, like Return of the Obra Dinn didn't have the best kind of like navigation in terms of like rewinding time and going through, you know, all the time to like, oh, where did I see that dead body? Oh, I have to go through this sequence of time, and then that sequence of time. It was hard to, you know, gauge that kind of stuff, and a lot of that game was, well, not a lot, but a portion of that game was like navigating that space in a weird way.
Very much like if you had that one person that you couldn't quite identify, you had to then go back through the 3 or 4 scenes that they appeared in to try and link where they were. It's very similar to that. You're bouncing around a lot, and it's not easy to do so.
Detective games just seem like a nightmare to make, because you want to have the player feel that kind of sense of accomplishment, but
very much,
as you said, like if the characters aren't responding to like your questioning in a way that feels natural, it's like, oh, you can, you know, basically say they're the killer and then be all happy to them, and it's like there's no, oh wait, hold on, what, you know, there's no like good like fluidity between the conversation. It's just seems like a nightmare. I would never make a detective game, but this seems like everything that I've heard from you and like Waypoint spoke about it. So I'm looking forward to hopping into it. So yeah, it sounds good.
I think you definitely enjoy it. I don't know how long. I don't know how long it takes, but I'm on like 14 hours.
Oh wow!
Some of that is the game being idle for a little bit of time, where I've played and had a chance to play for sort of half an hour and then left it for half an hour and been able to come back to it. So I don't really know what kind of my play time is, but you know, maybe I suppose with the trial parts still to come, I might hit 15 or 16. So you're probably around 10 or 12, something like that, I would think.
Yeah.
But it's
that's why I got it on Switch, for like one of those laid-back games, you know.
Absolutely, and it's definitely worth that time. I think you could spend a lot more in it as well. You know, if you explore the whole island and try and find every collectible and those sorts of things, exploring is definitely worth it when you're kind of trying to hunt down leads or find evidence and things like that. Usually, stuff is located quite well. So if you're like, there's something kind of missing from this element. Like, I can see that this has been done. But what has done this? Where could that be? And it won't be very far from where that is.
That's good.
And I think as well, I've kind of exhausted everything. So you have a section on your... you can go into your laptop, your tablet, kind of it's like your companion element in this, and it allows you to unlock doors and all of these sorts of things to progress. But also it's where you keep track of all of the sort of evidence and alibis and testimony and stuff from all of these characters. And it has a notes section which kind of tells you everything you have yet to find some link to somebody or some piece of evidence for, which really helps because you can kind of go, right, this is still kind of outstanding at the moment. Where might this be? Let's go back to where this is, have a look around. You can unlock kind of abilities, so you can unlock a double jump. You can also unlock something called meditate, where you on the keyboard I press Q for a couple of seconds, it blacks out, and when it comes back there's lots of little hearts dotted about which are, you know, collectibles, save points, these, you know, those kinds of things. So you can kind of get to that area where you think something has happened, meditate a little bit, and then go, oh, there's something over there, I'll go and have a look and see what that is. And it might be just a collectible, but it might be tied to, you know, the scene that you're kind of investigating. So it gives you a few tools to help you along a little bit as well. Like I say, I don't know how long it would take a competent human to be able to do this, but I think I've exhausted all of my, at least there's no notes left in my little Starlight tablet, so I've now got to go through everything, go through all of the evidence and kind of go, this crime, who do I think it is? You know, get my notebook out and write down, this crime was this person, this crime was this person.
Is that a physical notebook, or does this game do it good enough?
There's no way for you to kind of link things up.
Right. Okay.
But on this kind of interface, you have folders for the crime, which then present all of the characters along the top and might put numbers next to them to say there are 5 points linking this person to this crime, or 2 points linking this person to this crime. And some of them may be completely circumstantial, some of them may be hearsay, some of them might just be fabrications, and some of them might be clear evidence. And it's kind of up to you to go through all of that and work out who you think is actually who has actually committed this crime. And one of the good things about this, there's so much intricacy between the characters, and the stories and things overlap a lot, and characters, at least from what I think, characters are drawn in without really having any knowledge about kind of what is the end goal or the crime will be, but they're so linked to it that you're pushed in a direction that maybe they actually are the ones that kind of perpetrate it. But again, maybe it's kind of bluffing me, and they are, and it isn't the other character that I'm kind of been pointed towards. So I'm really interested in getting into this kind of trial aspect and seeing how that works. And
I was just going to say, so the UI does a good job at presenting that in a way that's not cluttered.
Yes, it does.
For you to,
yeah.
Okay, good. Because always find that can be the downfall of these types of games. It's like, oh, where did I see that? Didn't that one person say that one thing? I can't remember who, or something like that. But if it presents that in such a easy manner, then that's half the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, like I say, I've maybe got an hour or so left, perhaps, but it is the important part, I guess. The whole, I'm going to accuse this person. Where does my story kind of fall through? And I've kind of it's been hinted at that once you get to the trial, that characters may, start to turn on each other a little bit. So I assume there's some kind of, questioning element from me to this. It's not just, I think it's this person, here is my evidence, and then the judge kind of has a look at that. I imagine there is some kind of questioning element too, which may uncover more stuff. So, yeah.
A bit of Joel and Tommy, like, I'm going to kill one of you who doesn't tell me the right thing.
Exactly that.
Pit them amongst each other.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're all fucking snakes, so that's fine.
Colourful snakes.
And as one final note.
Interesting.
One final note. You can't romance characters.
Okay.
But you can hang out with them. And past romances may reignite.
Ooh.
So that's in there for you too. If you love a little bit of black screen,
Ooh.
Nothingness, where you can just think about maybe what is happening.
Didn't know it was that kind of game.
Aadil, you've muted.
Yep.
I
was looking something up and was trying to be subtle, so I was like, I won't let the keyboard noises go, and then I didn't mute. It doesn't matter. Fade to black. What I said was sometimes the fade to black is way better than any sort of on-screen thing you could see.
Absolutely, and it isn't even subtle. It's like, hey, shall we fuck? Yes.
Oh, see, I kind of wish it was more subtle, so then you could make your own.
Let's never talk about that again. Sure.
Cool.
Ha. Okay. Duly noted.
Yep. But yeah, that's Paradise Killer.
Something for everyone. Yeah.
Sort of. Depends if you've got another tab open on M&M S&M.
Incognito mode, friends. Don't forget it.
Oh, is it M&M or M and M?
M&M.
S and
I mean,
M.
it's
S
technically
and M. S ampersand M.
So it's M&M on the packets. It's S and M. And it's M&M S.
I thought we were still just talking about the M&Ms. What are you on about?
M&M's it has an ampersand as their official typography.
Yeah, so
S&M is usually honestly
usually we didn't ask about that. Did anyone ask?
I asked all of them.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah. What about M&S?
Oh.
M&S is definitely an ampersand.
Ampersand, yeah. Mr. Mark
and it's weight and rows. It's not.
Moving on.
I think we're running out of time to come to for another topic this week. But Aadil, I think you've had your very dirty chocolate topic.
I didn't bring this up. I just made sure it had enough stage time.
Oh Lord.
Good. Let's talk about beers. Who opened the show? Aadil, you opened the show.
Oh, I did. Ooh, so I will say the peanut butter milk stout, which is exactly what it sounds, did improve over time. So actually, it's got a bit of an acrid / roasted finish, which really once that was in my taste register, it helped smooth out that middle ground that I was kind of complaining about. So I would say a third of the can in, I stopped having that real weird gap feeling of, oh, there's this really interesting dynamic, and there's this, but in the middle there's this awkward peanut buttery taste that I'm not here for. Once I had enough of it on my palate, the finish was bridging that. I'm still not done that tin, so it's not like I was drinking it quickly such that I was masking that middle. It just sort of worked, which is a plus, I think, because that was the only thing that was it was novel. But I actually think if you're just interested in a milk stout, and because of again the underlying, even just stout, because it's not super sweet like some other milk stouts. It's and it's all bundled in well together. But ultimately, it's got to be the Wiper Trues Kaleidoscope. It's a fantastic beer, and it hits the spot really well in the tail end of summer / the beginning of climate change fall. And again, I actually think this version right now is really good. It's really strong in the sense of you really do get the best of the Citrus Simcoe Mosaic, and they're well balanced. And it's got that zippiness, but it's got that like this is a beer. It's refreshing. It's got depth, but it's also not in your face. And again, I always go back to Wiper and True with how do you manage to do these things while still not being like boisterous level of flavor. Like, it's a mystery to me because every other beer I've ever had that does those types of things, does them much more forcefully. But actually, there's just enough like zesty zippiness, especially on the foretaste of the current run of the Kaleidoscope, that it's peppy enough that I would reach for this. Like, I have several tins, and I'm not gonna just. I was worried that when am I gonna be in the mood for one? And actually, given that it's quite warm out, but actually, I think I'm gonna probably, tomorrow afternoon, if it's as hot as this evening, I'll probably reach for one just because it's exactly what I want.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. I may have to convince you. I don't think I have to convince you, but we'll have to talk about maybe a little bit of a trade on the, maybe the 10 cans or 11 cans that you have left. Talking about supermarket beers, I may have had a couple of very good stouts from the supermarket, from Morrison's, and I know Morrison's isn't anywhere near you, so I have to visit one tomorrow, and I think I have to come over your way for a job on Thursday, so I may drop in.
Yeah. If you want to trade $2 beers,
let's get the supermarket beers. They're only like 50p, so it's fine.
So you give me 4 and I give you 1.
Good, Lucy. How about you?
Oh, I mean, the Westmalle Trappist beer is gonna win any week, really. But I still wasn't that convinced by this particular Overtone. Got to pick up on a bit more like the pininess and the bitterness after a while, but that kind of like artificial sweetness just front loaded the taste, and I couldn't get it out of my head or my taste buds, so that pretty much dominated. It's still not a bad beer. I'd say in terms of like artificial sweetness, it's not even the biggest culprit in that respect, but it's just something I couldn't get away from with that one. But I honestly do recommend the rest of their beers, because every one of theirs I've enjoyed, and as I say, if it wasn't full from dinner, I probably would have smashed that one back anyway. But
what was the other one? What was the other one you have?
This one is a Lotus Oat Cream Nipa, which I'm looking forward to that one. I'll put that one back in the fridge. But yeah, I've had one of their wit beers that was called Whitman. Had some over the weekend that were just have like quite a good range of like just IPAs and stuff like that. As I say, definitely recommend them. They're kind of my like little obsession at the moment. Some cracking beers, but
nice.
Definitely seek them out. But yeah, I mean, the Trappist beer is going to win most weeks. Just also seek that out if you can. I don't know, do they stock those in like? I'm pretty sure I've seen them stocked in like high street stores or something like that.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I once saw them, or maybe it's just like your standard like beer shop or something like that I saw them in. But
we might,
you can usually find them.
We might have to have like a big Belgian week or something where we dig in. We get 3. We get the
That's ballsy.
the Westmalle. We get the Roquefort. We get the Delirium, and we kind of just chill and
get drunk. But,
that's true. Yeah, get drunk. Get drunk and kind of compare. Not even compare, but just chat about those, because I don't think we've done that. We've all had them. We've all had them. But we all had them kind of like individually, and never done like a a drink along, I suppose.
Well,
Really.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that we went, the last place we went when I was down.
that's what I was gonna say is the beer emporium's
Yes, it
upstairs.
was Beer Emporium. Yes,
Dan was quite
I was fucked by that point.
in the
You were
tank.
fine, but then
You know, I mean, you weren't incoherent, but you were definitely drunk to the point where I'm not surprised it didn't immediately jump to mind as, oh yeah, because then we spent like an hour drinking, at
I
least
think
an hour Belgian.
Yeah, hit him right at the end because he was like coherent, fine. Oh,
Yeah,
we'll go home and have a nice.
You fall asleep on the sofa.
that is exactly what happened. Yep.
Anything of it, I think it was just like, yep, whoosh. Especially if you'd been drinking the night before, just hit you like a train.
So
We
like,
got into
a comfortable seat.
Yes. That's literally what it was. Just fine, walking down the street and then just like a bus hit you.
Just drop like a sack of shit. Good, yes. And we haven't had an episode where we've drank the same beers for a while.
For a long time, yeah.
So we will have a look at that perhaps
Yep.
in the coming weeks. That's all of our beers. Did I talk about mine? No, I didn't talk about mine. It's the left-handed giant.
Again.
I kind of alluded to it.
I liked it. Yep.
Yes, it's a lovely beer.
I on LHD today online.
Nice.
Is it the Sky Above or something like
Yeah,
that?
Sky Above. Yeah, that's a good beer.
Yeah, but 12 of them.
What I have last week?
36 quid.
Fern and Fossil. That was good. I mean, you can never go wrong with left-handed giant, really.
Absolutely.
And normally you can never go wrong with Northern Monk.
No, very good also.
Transient. I'd try it again. Maybe under different circumstances. Maybe kind of in the middle of a warm day, as like as an easy afternoon beer. I mean, it doesn't appear to be kind of that 7.4%. Presents itself perhaps as something a little bit bigger, a little bit kind of not, it's not sessionable as such, but it didn't drink like a bigger beer. And the flavours they're kind of just hitting against each other throughout that whole beer. They're just bashing against each other. Whereas the left-handed giant had a couple of similar notes, not many, but a couple of similar notes, and it just it was so good, it just flowed so easily throughout, and just leaves you with a lovely aftertaste, which just goes and goes and goes and goes. And I can absolutely see why Aadil, it's a lovely tee up to some bigger beers. I think I'd had a cut of IPA, or had an IPA and then had another IPA on the next round, and then we moved into sort of like, we had the sour next after that, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we moved on to the bigger stouts. I can definitely see how this would open you up to just kind of keep going for the rest of the day, really. So yes, that is my beer. That is all of the beers this week. If you'd like to tell us about what you're drinking or what you're playing, you can do so at Out of Lives Cast on Twitter. We're also on Instagram, which I've been massively lazy on. I just can't be fucked.
Yeah, it's social media of the devil. I think we've all been avoiding it.
We have,
But
absolutely.
for mental health.
Yes. Since lockdown, I think we've kind of pulled away from it. I think maybe it hasn't been since lockdown, but maybe I think actually since America fucking completely lost its shit, and
But not the first time.
no, not for the first time. But at least with the killing of George Floyd, when everything kicked off again and Black Lives Matter kicked up, we kind of gave a bit of space for that and to stop filling everyone's feed with our shit. I just haven't been fucked since then, because there's much more important things, in my opinion, on beers and games.
It's hard.
If you want my opinion on beers and games, you're probably listening to us now. So
Yes.
there we go. Long may my absence of social media continue. You can, if you want to talk to me. I've tweeted a couple of things at Nova_47. I tweeted about Spiritfarer. I'm still thinking about that, or at least I was the other couple of days ago. Lucy.
Yeah, I finished that as well.
Oh yes. Yeah. If people want to tweet or talk to you in some way about their experiences with Spiritfarer, how do they do that?
Juicy Loose 9 on Twitter and everywhere else. Come beat me at Tony Hawk, I dare you.
Okay. Before we get to Aadil's handles, how do people connect with you kind of on Tony Hawk? Because I know in some games there's like a leaderboard and stuff.
I think you can go into a lobby with your friends.
Right.
I think you can invite friends, but I don't think it's a private lobby. I think they still populate the match with however many people is needed for a full match, like 8 people or something like that. So,
and are you all? Do you all inhabit the space at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, nice.
It's like early online infrastructure. It's like I don't even think there's voice chat in it or something, so, which is a blessing to say the least, and that's why this game is the purest thing we'll get in 2020.
Can you bash into people, or do you ghost through them?
No, you ghost through them.
Oh, so
Purity.
it's not like the skate park.
If someone bashed into me when I'm on like a times 30 combo or something like that, I'd be very upset.
Mate, so I mean, but someone can't come down a ramp and just scream, "Get out of the fucking way, you cunt!" like, whoa, fuck! Just mess up your combo to allow them to just fly through.
There's no voice chat again. This is why it's the purest game in 2020.
Nice. Good. Top of all the lists. Aadil, if people want to talk to you, tell you about the beers they're drinking, the games they're playing, games you should play, how do they do that?
You can reach me at the Omniarch, TheOmniarch, on all of the things except Twitch, where I am at _Omniarch, and
tell us about your Twitch streams. Yeah,
I did a weird Twitch stream last week, and I'm glad you both came.
I did too.
So one of the things that I've struggled with in lockdown and in general with, to be honest, no longer being a student on a PhD program and having no real boss was like work habits. And so how I work well is in cafe type atmospheres, but also using something called a Pomodoro technique. But basically I realized, what if I just went online with the description saying, I'm working, come work with me. And I had put timers on the screen because that's how I work effectively with Pomodoro technique. You can look it up. It's basically to not burn yourself out. Every 25 minutes you take a break, and every couple cycles of those you take a longer break. It's real. A lot of people have testified that it's better than just working too hard throughout the day. It's how you have longevity throughout weeks. That's how I got through the end of my PhD, where I wrote basically 3 chapters in 2 months. 4 chapters in 2.5 months. Yeah, something like that. It was just like schedule working, and I had a work environment where I could do that. Don't have that now, and it was like, this might be useful, but also it's kind of just me being like, if I put myself out there, I get that accountability. Yeah. But also, if you want to feel like you are working around someone who is working, that's what I'm doing. So I'm trying to figure out when to schedule it, because that would help me immensely. But also, if I want people to be like, hey, come work together, they should know when I'm going to go online. So in the next couple of days, if you look at the twitch.tv/the_Omniarch, I should have a schedule up with some work times. And then the weird thing will be there might be some I'm playing video game times. Because like as someone who was just searching #writing came on, and we had good chat, and they got to working, and it was good, and it helped me stay on task. And they clearly got some work done that maybe they wouldn't have, which was the whole point. But they like gave me a follow. Now it's like, what if I go play some shitty game? You definitely don't want that. Oh, well, such is the internet. But yeah, so that's my sort of twitchy thing, but also, yeah, my philosophy thing might go that way too. I'm sort of thinking of different ideas of like
Yeah, you put something up on there. I don't know if it was just what you were writing, but I was busy making a cup of tea. I didn't see it. I saw text on there for a second.
Oh yeah, so that was one of the things that I struggled with, which was, do I show my face as guy working if the point is come work with me, or if you're interested, do I show you what I'm working on? And I think bouncing between the two, I'm not sure yet.
You're a very attractive man, so just the face.
That helps.
But it does bring up that, like, I also want to talk philosophy, and I think that given that universities are all, thanks to COVID, doing a lot of online things, I could also do online teaching and discussion of philosophy in a way that you don't have to pay $9,000 for, and that might be interesting and also help me. Right, like it might help me develop pedagogically, but also interact. And some of that might be like, hey, I'm working on this, but also let me have a Friday afternoon session or whatever, like to just talk through my current project, or a thing that like we cover in philosophy as instructors or as coursework. But like, if you don't have access to that because you're not enrolled in a philosophy degree, but you're interested, hey, we're talking about this thing. Like the trolley problem, which everyone knows about, but no one really knows about. Because did you know the trolley problem is in a paper about abortion? Bet you didn't.
No. But I just know, always push that person onto the railway. But yeah, it's kind of hard to.
Really, you just have to look at things and be like, hey, look, I'm not in the trolley. I'm not on the tracks. So all these thought experiments, I'm fine. And
Don't you just explode the trolley first?
Sure.
Nah, you just.
Isn't the whole point of it is like you being an active participant?
Yeah, it's you being a decision point. Yes, I'm aware, but
I would run in the opposite direction and be like, "Let fate sort this out." But
I mean, but that's just not flipping the switch.
Yes.
So you've made a decision.
But not flipping the switch condemns people. The whole point is you have the opportunity to flip the switch, and there are two jeopardized parties. It doesn't matter.
I would not be anywhere near a train track. I'd be inside running from COVID.
I mean, so one of the things actually, I have a small. Well, I have the proto makings of a paper is on thought experiments, because it's not always clear that they help, but they sound like they do. But like, there's a lot of idealizations about them. Like, the only thing you can do in this is flip the switch or not flip the switch, and your ingenuity and resourcefulness as a human don't come into account, because what we're testing is a very narrow thing. But then, if we're talking about morals, which aren't black and white, is that a good example situation to show what the right thing to do is, or where the tension?
Well, that's why they always describe it as a fat guy, don't they?
Oh, so so people have changed that though. So some philosophy instructors have been, because the point was never to have a fat guy in the sense of fat guy bad, but our culture has fat shaming. The point was just really one body could stop the tram and save the multiple bodies. And so because I'm in a couple of Facebook groups, and one instructor's like, someone's literally yesterday brought this up. Hey, this seems really anti-fat. and one of the person's like, for years I've just been like describing it as the biggest person you can think of, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones. Because the point is, it's one person in the way that will stop the trolley, but the Mountain doesn't have that cultural baggage and judgment, and so it turns out people will respond differently.
Yes, that's what I thought was like really interesting. How originally it was just a person, and then it evolved into this one fat guy. It's just like, okay.
Well, and I think the author who did the fat thing was literally trying to play into making it feasible, right? It's like, someone needs to be able to stop the trolley, but of course the whole thing is contrived, so actually all you're doing is bringing up extra shit. Anywho, we are wrapping things up, and I'm now talking way more shop than I thought I was going to be. So I'm doing weird things on the internet with regards to my non-video game life, is what I was going to say.
Other than M&S, S&M.
M&M S&M at the M&S.
I mean, that might come up. That might come up at some point on the stream.
Is it moral to engage in S&M with the M&M?
Yeah. Anyway, so if you're curious, I'm hoping to have some more information on at least the Twitch. I'm not sure what else to do, but the _ Omniarch on Twitch.
Good. You can get all of us at Out of Lives Network on Twitter. Go to outoflives.net as well. So look at articles, listen to us, see our faces, and all of that sort of stuff. You can also see our faces on the video on demand option on Twitch or over on the Out of Lives Network page on YouTube. Come and see the beers, come and see our faces if you're an audio listener. Leave us some feedback on whatever device, platform, thing you are listening or viewing us on as well. It's always appreciated. But I think that is us this week. So goodbye, thanks. This is Tanked Out. Bye.
Sounds like ASMR to me. Bye.
See ya.
Ciao.
I mean, mine was a bit more robot ASMR. But,
well, that's somebody's kink.
Yipes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it probably is. You're right.
Yeah.
If you think it's a kink, it is.
www.outoflives.net